In the previous video about Octane for Blender, we worked with more advanced materials and we saw how we can create more layers and place one layer on top of the other. And to do that, you can use various effects and various type of textures like the opacity channel, or you can use transmission if you want to do glass. And we also saw how we can apply graphics and logos, and so you can do packaging or like branding or marketing. You can create your product with the graphics applied. And we also saw how we can apply some defects like dirt, and how we can use the curvature texture to apply parts where like the metal it's a little bit worn out, or it's not uniform. So by using procedural maps and using textures, you can guide the effects throughout the surface and don't make it too much uniform. So make some variations, some defects, something that can make it more realistic. And you can use all these effects right here. And not only that, you can also create layers on top of layers on top of layers. So you can create like a base layer of metal, and then you can apply a paint on top of that, and that could be like a little bit consumed. And then you can apply a dirt, and then you can apply a channel with an alpha channel, or a mask, which is essentially the same thing. And you can show what's beneath using the opacity. So you have many different options, and we explored these options in the previous video. Leaving behind the parts concerning materials, but materials are always there, and they work with nodes, so they are always available to create other effects. In fact, when we work with the environment, we are basically working with the material, with the texture. So everything comes around here in Octane using the node editor. So we also saw the transmission and how we can change the basic refractions or transparency of the glass and create something more translucent, translucid using the transmission, the subsurface scattering, the absorption of the color, and so on. Now in this video, we're going to continue and we're going to talk more about the environment. And we're gonna create the first type of rendering, which I call the object rendering. So it's the simplest way you can create a rendering in this software right here and Octane, but also in other software. But before we do that, let's investigate a couple of more interesting things, like the random node. This random node, so you can find it just by typing random in the add and search it, will help you to randomize any effect. So if I insert here another procedural maps like marble, for example, and you can see how many procedural maps are there. So check them in the channel and in the manual, because the manual has a lot of information, the Octane Blender manual. Okay, we cannot do this type of link. When you see red, that means that it's not possible to do that. But we can change from here to here, and we can place it perhaps into other nodes, and you can see that procedural maps changes slightly. So you can place that randomize effect anywhere. And let's add also here another node like gradient. Also we already saw this node before, and we can use it also with color. So by working with the editor and the nodes, we can work on anything. We can manage any texture, any procedural maps. We can change it, we can customize it. So if I want to make it red, I can make it red. Otherwise, we can say that the standard effect is black and white and gray. So this is what you get usually also using the procedural maps, but you can customize them. As you can see here, I made it red and yellow. Now, another effect I really want to show you is the rounded corners or rounded edges, which is an effect that you find also in other render engine. And I think it's really useful because many times when you create your scene, you want to go fast. You don't care about, too much about the shapes and the geometry. But in terms of rendering, when you have like really sharp corners and you don't have a nice smooth and rounded edge is going to look less realistic. So when you apply this node right here, which is called rounded edges, it's going to make things more accurate, and also change the mode to accurate so you can see it better. Now you don't need to add, a big rounded corner, but with a big radius, you can just make it really, really small. It's going to do the difference. Just look here between the first one and the second one. Now, also, you can make things like merge together using concave and convex effects. So when you have a sharp corner, it's going to create a rounded corner, and it's going to create a convex corner. If you choose to work also with other objects, you can see the checkbox down there. It's going to also apply a rounded concave corner between, well, in this case, one step and the other. So all I need to do here is define radius, and you can see how everything gets like merged in terms of what we see in the render. We are not merging the actual geometry here. We are not rounding the actual corners, but this is just a fake effect, like the bump, for example, or the normal map. It's a fake 3D effect, but it looks really nice, and it's going to give you nice like rounded corners and rounded shapes, depending on how much you increase also the softness and the roundness, the curviness. You're gonna get different results. Now this is like an example, so just go there and, as usual, play around with it. And well, I definitely suggest you use this also for like bookshelves, or well, any sharp corner you have in your scene could be smoothed, and it will look better. It will look more realistic. Nothing in reality as perfect sharp corners. And that's also a matter of security, a matter of a safe environment. Now, in the previous video, talking about environment, we use some HDRIs. So in this video, let's create this first type of rendering, which again, I called object rendering. So we need a subject, we need an object, and I've chosen this one here, which is Future is Our Legacy by SDC Performance. And you have all the information here. This is a CC attribution, so we just created the author. And we also going to use some different environments. So again, we are doing IBL, which means image-based lighting. And this is the simplest way you can create a lighting system, an environment, a background, anything you need, well, the basic that you need for a nice realistic rendering. So HDRI means high dynamic range image, and so that these are just complex images that contain a lot of information about the lighting and the darkness and so on. So this is why these are used in this case. And of course, we can use the HDRIs from Polyhaven, which are free, most of them. And well, actually, here you have outdoors, indoors, studios. We already saw the indoors. So right now I'm going to use some outdoors. And this is, an example. So remember HDRI, remember resolution, not too big, not too low, depending on what you need to do, and then save it, and that's it. So I also saved other of these HDRI so I can test different situations, different scenarios, different backgrounds, and see which one works the best. Now you can see that Future is the legacy here. Now we have a Blender file. So if I double click, this is going to be the Blender file. It actually contains two cars, two automobiles, two vehicles. So we're going to do kind of an automotive rendering here to change a little bit the subject. And I'm just going to fix this. Well, not fix it, but arrange it in a different way. I want to like place these two cars one next to the other before I continue to set up the scene for the rendering. There we go. Now we're ready. I just copy them. So select everything, Control C, go back to my scene, Control V, and that's it. Now we have the two cars, but they have a standard material. So now we're gonna work a little bit with lighting, with the render settings, with the render effects,